Hello, and welcome to the I Made It podcast, where we chat with animators and artists to learn their creative process from sketch phase to final render. I'm your host, Mitch Fern, and today my guest is the 3D animator who's creating hyper-realistic renders that scratch your brain in all the right places. He's worked with clients such as Guinness, Nike, North Face, and many others. From flowing fabrics to melting particle effects, every post will make you want to reach into your screen and grab it. Today, we'll get a peek behind the curtain to figure out where he's keeping all these shoes and fog machines. So without further ado, please welcome my guest, Ben Gillespie. Cool, man. So, yeah, happy you're able to join today. And let's just get into it. I know I just did like a little bit of an intro on how I see your work, but if you want to start just kind of describing your animation style.
Yeah, I mean, I am just trying to do what the clients want most of the time. Like there's definitely an animation style that I'm interested in that it's kind of just lives on my Pinterest and stuff that I like on Instagram. But yeah, I work in Cinema 4D and After Effects and Houdini and just try to do the best I can, I guess.
Right on. How do you feel like your work has like evolved over time? Like, because obviously you kind of have a style to your work. Um, that's like, I feel like at this point, whenever I see it, like I don't even need to see your tag. I know that's a piece by you. So, like, what got you into the specific style that you animate in?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was interested in like 3D stuff just because I was filming a lot of concerts and there was like some stuff that I wanted to do in concert recaps that I couldn't do just in After Effects. So that kind of like opened the doors in college, and then we had COVID, and then after COVID I spent like a ton of time just learning Cinema 4D, and after COVID I just kind of went full time as an animator. And the stuff that I wanted to do wasn't necessarily the stuff that people wanted me to do, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But there were like with every project, there were just things that I could get excited about and learn about. So I feel like kind of 50% of my style comes from me driving the ship, and then maybe another half just comes from what people want me to do. And like I'm working with some pretty good art directors, so I trust their vision and their ability to kind of navigate where the CG sphere is going.
Right.
But
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. Right on. So you feel like it's kind of like it's your work's kind of evolved now between like what you like, but then also just like a lot of influence from the people that fired you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And
Cool.
there's definitely like production houses that I look up to, like Man vs. Machine, obviously. They're crazy with Houdini and Tendril and stuff like that. And The Mill, RIP, for like compositing and VFX work. But um, so those are good North Stars, like if a client
Yeah.
has an idea, and then I've seen some like influential precedents from one of the major shops, then we'll try to meet in the middle and we'll call that my vision.
Right,
I'm
right,
really
right.
just trying to make the best stuff that I can. Like I don't really put a whole lot of thought into um I don't know, some of the more brainy stuff of art and like
Right.
the more spiritual aspects. I'm just trying to make it look good, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just trying to make the client happy.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, my next question was actually going to be just like what your biggest influences are, whether it's like other creators or just like you're even outside of animation work. But it sounds like you kind of answered some of that already with some of those other
Yeah.
creators you get inspired from.
Yeah, and those are huge studios. So I do get like really inspired by small companies because I do think small companies and like honestly some of the even the influencers that are just making stuff that they want to make, and they don't have to go through like 5 rounds of revisions, and they don't have to go like jump through 10 hoops to get something released. Um, that sort of stuff really jazzes me out, that it is possible to like just think of something and make it, and then um, post it and make a living
Yeah,
eventually.
yeah, for sure. Well, I feel like some of your earlier stuff, or at least when I started following you, it didn't seem like everything you were posting was like client work. You were doing like a lot of stuff with like messing with because you were messing with like Unreal Engine 5 and stuff, right? And like doing a lot of cool like fabric physics stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And I still try to like block out time to experiment, but like the past 2 or 3 years have been crazy, and I feel like I haven't had as much time as I want to like make YouTube videos and like
Yeah.
learn something new in the programs. It's just been client work on client work, which is fine. Like I still feel like I'm growing and I'm learning and I'm using my time wisely and I'm getting compensated fairly for it. But
Yeah.
it would be nice to just, have a few months to explore and dive deep into some different topics.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know how you usually work, but I'm always just like trying to find client work that then can pay me enough so I can just afford to do some fun stuff on the side for a little while. Like I'm just thinking about like funding my own projects and stuff. I don't know. I haven't gotten to the point yet. I feel like I'm getting busy enough to having to like hold the brakes and be like, I'm not taking client work right now. I need to like do stuff like I'll have decent gaps, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe once you like save up enough and you're just like feeling comfortable, just like take a month off and like hop into I don't know, try to make something new. That's just like all 100% you.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the game plan for this summer for
Yeah.
sure. I don't want to try to call my shot too much, but there
Yeah.
there are a lot of things that I want to do, and I just think I don't have the time for it now, and it's entirely my fault. Like as a freelancer, like if you're overwhelmed and you're overbooked, like it's you only your fault.
Right,
'Cause-
right. Because you're like reaching out to people all the time.
yeah,
Uh,
or like you're the one trying to set the boundaries and stuff, and I just have done a poor job at that in the past.
yeah, yeah. It's easy to forget sometimes. I feel like sometimes projects come in real quick and they're like, we need you like to start working on something right now and like hop into a meeting and then you're just like, okay, yeah, let's get started and you forget to like send them like outlines or like I don't know. Sometimes I always try to like remember to send out outlines so I can like have boundaries within it, like you'll
Yeah.
have me till this date or whatever. Um,
And especially when the projects are exciting, like I'm not getting a lot of duds anymore. Like 2 years ago, it would be so easy to pass on those projects, but like now it's like this could be sick. I like
yeah.
it.
All right, cool. So yeah, you want to just walk me through because this could either be for your like personal projects or if you're handed work for like a client. Like as soon as someone like gives you a project or whatever, you sit down to work on it. Like what's the very first thing you do? Are you like sketching things on paper or are you like opening a program?
Um, it's usually a bit of both. Like I'll try to sometimes if it is like motion, like if it's a 3D project, I'll usually try to get like a super rough draft done within like 3 hours. Like just kind of like almost like a storyboard, but just like if it's a shoe project, I'll spin the shoe around and make sure that like all of that timing is right. And I won't like render it fully. I won't worry about textures or anything. Just like make sure that it's looking okay and that the idea is kind of feasible. And then there's like kind of depending on the project, there's usually like 3 to 4 days of just like kind of dialing in the detail within the models or the environment and stuff, and
Yeah.
you're not really using your brain a whole lot with that. I'll just have like 3 podcasts going at a time
Right,
and
right,
like
right, right. So
just
you're just
pushing the
kind of like
buttons.
blocking things in to begin with.
Yeah,
And what
yeah.
are you doing that in Unreal Engine or
Usually just like Cinema 4D,
okay,
either
Cinema
clay
4D.
renders or like make preview stuff and then pull them into Premiere. and make
Okay.
sure that they're kind of aligning right. If it is like a pretty, um, I don't know, like I'm working on a protein bar commercial right now, and those renders take like maybe 10 minutes. So like I can render it in full color with
Yeah.
proxy textures and stuff.
Okay. That's pretty sick. So do you feel like the first thing you're going for is like the camera movement and stuff and blocking things out within 3D? Okay.
Yeah,
That's
typically.
interesting. Yeah, because I still don't know much about 3D. I like taught myself some Blender last year for my job, and I like learned a lot from it. So I understand a little bit more, but I still have not like touched Unreal Engine 5 or anything. Um, so yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of similar to how you do animation because you like or 2D animation because you're kind of like roughing it out. But yeah, that's cool to know to do with like 3D of like because I would always imagine like having a final like render of whatever you're gonna animate done first, and then you think about the animation.
Yeah, and I like to do it a little asynchronously. So like the before the first round of like finished video, I'll usually do style frames, like just full renders of what the final environment will look like mixed with like the motion of it
Right,
as like proxies or clay renders or whatever. Just so that like it takes a little bit of imagination, but it's not too hard to figure out like those textures are going to move like this, and that's
right,
kind of what you're going to get.
right.
And then it saves a ton of time with rendering because some of those scenes can get up to like 8 to 10 hours or so on,
Yeah.
and then the
Do you
digital
have any like
machine.
examples you could show of like very first like block out renders that you do?
Oh,
'Cause that'd be
good
cool to see.
question.
I feel like I've never really seen like the very first, version of somebody's 3D render when it comes to like CGI and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I do. Yeah, like
Yeah,
this
there we
sort
go.
of stuff.
Okay.
But like I just want to make sure that they're comfortable with the stride of the shoe before I go
Right.
through and render it with textures and stuff. And they've
Okay. Okay.
also, but at this point, had like a full 4K, like a screen grab, like just a
Yeah.
still image of the lighting and stuff.
Of like, yeah, what the final render, like just so a photo of the final render and then this quick
Mhm.
just movement. Okay, cool. And this you said you usually just knock out within a few hours.
Yeah, I'll usually try to get, and it kind of depends on the client on whether I'll show them it or not, but just kind of wrap my brain around the scope of the project and like how many different scenes are involved and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And where the camera should be, and like just so that I can kind of see some problems before I get too much in the weeds, because like the texturing and uh, lighting and stuff is just you heads down for days, and then if
Yeah,
you
for sure to get it
don't,
right.
yeah, and if you don't catch any problems before then, you're kind of screwed.
Got it. Got it. So when you get a project like this, are they supplying you with like the 3D model and stuff already?
It kind of depends. There's a few companies. North Face has a like digitization department, so they'll supply me with the models if they have them. There's sometimes that they don't have the models, or like they don't have a particular jacket that they need, and so I'll do the modeling. Or
Okay.
sometimes I'll outsource the modeling, and then I'll usually handle all the texturing. Uh, I do have a model that I could show you that I made.
Yeah,
Want to see?
let's do it.
Yeah, and I don't really have any like formal training on footwear modeling and stuff, but this is
Yeah.
kind of, I just do it all in Cinema 4D because I'm the most uh, confident in that program. But this is just like kind of, I don't
Okay, so
know
you
what
threw
it looks
this
like.
together.
Oops.
And was this like made uh did you like download like a basic shape of a shoe already or did you go in and like make
Uh,
build out this whole shoe from scratch?
so I had the physical shoe, so I scanned it with just Polycam. and
Oh, okay,
then
cool.
brought it in and then like just kind of traced it. Like you can do polygon snapping on top of it. So it's like just tracing an image into a vector kind of. Um,
Okay.
and then you can add, because Polycam is pretty ass with like a lot of materials. Like it won't catch up gloss at all. Um, like you would need to use Gaussian splatting with that, but then you can't manipulate the geometry at all. So if you just retrace it and then you can like kind of use your own textures or like make
Okay.
custom textures.
Super cool. I've messed with Polycam a little bit to like scan my room and stuff, but yeah, that's pretty cool to know that you can scan something and then throw it into which program is this that you have it open?
Cinema 4D.
Okay, this is Cinema 4D. So you just drag it straight into Cinema 4D from like the Polycam file that it gives you.
Yeah, just bring the OBJ in and then kind of trace over it. Try to use good modeling techniques, a lot of quads and stuff like that. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not like the best modeler
Yeah.
at all. Like kind of just thrown together with duct tape. But
I mean,
I
it
mean, the
looks really
final,
good.
I was pretty proud of these renders.
Yeah.
They look decent in my opinion.
Sweet, sweet. All right, cool. So that's usually how you're doing the 3D stuff and getting the start of like your projects. So you said that you're using Cinema 4D, Unreal Engine. Was there any other programs that you work in?
Houdini, for sure. And then there's like a lot of um, smaller programs like Marvelous Designer for garment creation and stuff like that.
Okay.
But so for like quicker projects that are product based, it's usually Cinema 4D. For longer projects that are product based, it's usually Houdini. Because that's where you can get like, hairs morphing into liquid, into bubbles and shit like that, and just weird, cool stuff.
Yeah.
Cinema 4D is kind of like, you can make stuff wiggle. You can do a lot of simulations with it, like cloth simulation, but you can't do it a lot of like experimental type of visuals. So with Cinema 4D projects, it's usually just spinning around a product and
Right.
lighting it in a pretty way. And then Unreal Engine is super handy for like music stuff. If you have like a tour visual that's 6,000 frames and you need to go through 5 rounds in a week or something,
Yeah.
usually Unreal's the only way to do it. Unless you
Okay.
just have a $30,000 budget for render farms. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you after you do like the blocking and everything, you do the render samples and you put like the textures on and everything. From there, is it pretty much just like lighting and then like tweaking to like camera movement and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. Lighting, texturing. There's a huge part of the workflow in Houdini that is like simulating stuff. So setting up different parameters for like if it's a liquid or cloth or pyro
Yeah.
simulation and stuff like that. And that is usually more time intensive than rendering, but it kind of sucks because it needs to go like in the middle of the process. So that's why I
Oh,
don't
okay.
do it. Like I don't do a lot of heavy simulations for smaller project budgets. Like if anything's under 10 grand, then I won't usually
Yeah.
touch Houdini just
Okay.
because it takes so much time in the middle of the day.
Right.
And like I have 4 machines that I can bounce between, so I use Parsec to be able to access like all 4 machines, and I can, if it's a render, then I can hook them all up in parallel and let them all work on the same scene together if I need to, or if I just need to simulate different scenes, then I can like bounce from machine 1 to 2 to 3 to
Okay.
4.
What do you when you say different machines, do you mean like PC setups?
Yeah, just different PC
Oh
setups
wow.
set up
Okay.
uh,
Damn.
on yeah, it is. I spent a lot of money on my computers a few years ago, but
Yeah, but
they
you feel like
help.
it's worth it to just like knock things out way faster?
Yeah, because like before I mean, I still probably work until midnight most nights and try to get up by 7 and do it again. But before it was like all-nighters because I would have to wait. I have always worked with like at least two computers,
Yeah.
but having two extras works a lot better. And then you can just make sure that you're being as productive as possible when everybody else is at work, and then
Yeah.
hopefully dream of having a weekend or soon.
Damn. Sounds like you've been pretty busy then.
Yeah,
Sick though.
it's been good though. I'll
Yeah.
try to not spend as much money in the next few months and take a big trip or something.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
reset.
Yeah, that's how to do it. Cool. I also have here, what about like when it comes to render settings? Is that something you'd be willing to share of like what you usually like when it's like the final thing and you're like, all right, let me like are you is the final thing being rendered out in Unreal?
Yeah, so that kind of depends on the project. So you can render out of Unreal, Cinema 4D, or Houdini. C4D and Houdini, I'll use Redshift on both of them, and I'll usually
Okay.
bring in like though I made this shoe. Oh, sorry, I'm not sharing my screen.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
But um, even though I made this shoe in Cinema 4D, I can bring it into Houdini as a Redshift proxy, and then
Okay.
that'll link all the models and materials and stuff. Um, I can't manipulate that geometry in Redshift, or in Houdini, but I can spin it around and I can proxy out different stuff. Like if I need the midsole to be a proxy, but the mesh to be geometry, so I can manipulate it, then I can just send out a proxy for the midsole, and then I don't have to relink materials and stuff in Houdini. Um, and then as far as rendering goes in Houdini, it's definitely project dependent. Um, Actually, C4D might be a better one. Um, if the project's relatively complex, I'll usually render out like POV passes of crypto mat and Z depth
Hmm.
for sure. I usually just use automatic sampling of 0.01 and just render out usually 1920 by 1080. If they want a 4K render, I can either charge it for them or tell them that I'll upscale it with AI. But most projects just kind of they're okay with 1920 by 1080, except for some of the
Okay.
VFX stuff. But yeah, just
Is that just because the render time's so much longer?
yeah, it's four times as long because it's four times as many
Yeah.
pixels. So that kind of sucks. And then I'll usually plop everything into like I'll make my project folders with post haste, and then oh, I shouldn't be showing that one.
I
Whatever.
can blur things out if you need me to.
I think it'll be fine. Um, but then I'll like render it all out with just the day and the project name and the take that it was, and then need to bring them into After Effects or Premiere, usually After Effects to like actually send the client the
Okay.
video.
So then you do After Effects at the very end. Are you adding any like anything in After Effects, or you just like to kind of like edit things in there?
Usually like some simple grades. Sometimes like if I have the passes, then I can extract the passes and like grade things differently or like add text behind an element or something like that.
Right.
Usually just some simple compositing stuff, unless it is like a VFX project for music stuff, then it's usually a lot of time in After Effects because you're
Yeah.
blending in the live action, typically green screen stuff.
Right. Right. Okay. Have you messed around at all with like the new 3D stuff within After Effects? I know they've been adding some like 3D elements.
I have like a little bit, but you can't really texture anything in.
Right. It seems like you just have to like have something already done and then you put it in, but you can like add like squash and stretch and do like different. animation things within it.
Yeah. Which I think would be, I mean, if they could just like allow your, allow you to exchange textures, I think that would be super cool for me because then I can make like little hoodie mock-ups
Mm.
and like just people wouldn't need to download Blender to get their logo on a hoodie or a t-shirt or something like that.
Oh, right, because then you could just slap it in, open up After Effects, and like slap it in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be sick. Hopefully they'll add something like that soon. I mean, I know it's pretty new still, the 3D stuff they've been throwing in. I haven't really
Yeah.
messed with it too much either, but I was like pretty excited when I saw that because I'm like, oh, I know After Effects. Like I can animate well in
Yeah.
After Effects, so uh, yeah, I would understand just like throwing in a 3D object into there and then just making different like key points and stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
And depending on the end style that you need, it could be super, super useful if you're gonna fuck it up with like dithers and adjustment layers anyway.
yeah,
Like, could be sweet. I don't really think that an After Effects render engine would be anything that anybody would want, but just because there's so many problems with Adobe products and there's so many problems with render engines, and I feel like if they got together
yeah,
with all their problems.
yeah. I have a terrible time within After Effects trying to like just like play back my stuff. Like every time I would just like you make an adjustment, it has to like re-render everything. It's just like I don't really understand. I know with their most recent beta version that they have a fix for that. It like renders way faster when you do the playback. But I don't know why they've had such an issue with that. That's like the one thing that's annoyed me with After Effects.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
all right, cool. So after you're done like putting in After Effects, adding special like last minute adjustments, then you export, and that's pretty much the end of your creative process on that.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much
Okay.
until we meet and they tell me to do it again.
Right. And now it's like go back and fix all this stuff. So what about for from the projects you have worked on, whether commercial or like personal, what do you feel like your favorite projects have been?
Um, Honestly, I really love the quick ones that go well. Like I love there's this I work with one company that uh they don't make apparel or anything, but they're great to work with. I feel like they don't when people see like 3D visuals, a lot of times they're looking at like man versus machine crazy studio work. And like it's definitely attainable at a freelance level, but I think, the budgets are gonna be
Yeah.
a little bit crazier than you expect, and the time commitment is gonna be a little bit crazier than you expect. So those projects can be headaches, and it's fun to try to like punch up with some of that stuff and just but it's also just such an exercise in managing expectations. So it's like, no, we can't do 10 of these scenes in a week.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to get your hands on all of them and like actually craft it to what you guys want. But I love the quick ones that turn out well.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and sometimes they're music videos too. Like I worked on a music video for Tito um,
Oh, sick.
last like 2 weeks ago. He's like this Brazilian dude, but it just we were in and out within a week. Um,
Oh,
a
wow.
lot of
Was it a full
work.
music video or was it just like parts of it that you were
I
adding
had
to?
like 10 shots, maybe 10
Okay.
shots at most. Um,
That's a lot.
but yeah, and it was like the director planned it out pretty well. He had a good idea of what he wanted. But yeah, we like literally met on Monday. I got all the footage and then it was released by Friday, which is super fun.
Sick. All right, cool. Uh, yeah, then whenever you're working on like projects like that, do you has there ever been a time that you're whenever you're like collaborating with feels like they like totally elevated your work in like an unexpected way?
Yeah, definitely. And like I don't mean to because I complain about clients a lot in my personal
I
life
think all
and like
freelancers do. It's just
yeah,
like
dude.
a
Well,
yeah.
it's just hard. But
Yeah.
there are like they're at the North Face. They have phenomenal art directors, and they're seeing things in a different way from me. They're like head of global creative. Just came from Nike, I think 2 years ago. I don't know like his whole backstory. I can't really. Uh, but he's really talented, and he has
Okay.
like a lot of really good insights whenever we're on meetings and stuff. And sometimes it's like, fuck you, Jack. You, I know you're good at this, but I don't want to spend the next week doing it. But
Yeah.
um, it definitely does make for a better end product.
Nice. Nice. All right. Cool. Um, and then my next question was for like, because obviously we're always like hitting these creative challenges whenever we're jumping on new projects. It feels like there's like a new thing that you have to do that you've probably never done before. Um, can you think of something, a time that like there was like you had the hardest part, or I guess like explaining to somebody outside of animation, like what you feel like is the hardest part of animation that people don't understand. That does that make sense?
Yeah. Um, I typically avoid those projects pretty
Yeah.
heavily now, because in the like first year or so, like if I don't know how to do it and I just like I'm gonna be watching tutorials and billing you for that, I don't think that's super fair. And also like I've got enough demand for me to like if I'm stretching like fluid simulations a little bit and like maybe there's some flexibility there, but like I don't really take a lot of the big um crazy projects on now if I don't understand how to do it. But
Yeah.
that was definitely the hardest part of starting up because I didn't know how to do a lot and people were asking
Right.
for
So you
like
just had to be like,
really
okay, I'll figure it out. And what
yeah,
you would you
exactly.
just like open up YouTube and just like look for tutorials and stuff as you go through your project?
Yeah, YouTube and Patreon and try to get as close as you can
Yeah.
with those. Um, and those are typically like really pretty late nights. But I mean, I feel like that's the only way you get better is just like try to solve a problem organically
Oh yeah, for sure. That's
instead
why
of
I
just
always
follow.
get excited when I get like a project that I I've like never if it's something I've never done before, but I like have a pretty good idea of how it's done. It's like I like those projects because then I'm like, all right, cool. I'm pretty sure I can get this done. And then once I'm done with it, I'll like have that on my portfolio and I can find more work that's similar.
Yeah, totally. I'm trying to reserve those for like my own personal research because then if I fall on my face, it's like I don't have a deadline involved. I don't have
Right.
anybody that's trying to
Yeah.
pay me.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so out of all those projects that you've done over the past few years, what's the most technically challenging scene you think you've ever animated?
It's definitely got to be something for North Face. Probably not. I mean, there's some cool stuff that we've done with like blending live action and like some transitions and stuff, but honestly, the most technically challenging just gets down to like how fine the simulations need to be to make the people happy.
Yeah.
And so it's just like kind of brute force trying to manage those things, I think. And there's not a whole lot of like crazy experimentation going
Right.
on. It's like,
Right.
let's just make the sand a little bit smaller and see if we can get it out in time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I guess yeah, usually the hardest stuff is like when the clients just keep asking for changes or like tweaks and then you have to go back and like okay, that's gonna take another like a few hours to a day of like rendering things out.
Yeah.
Do you have a project that you think like taught you the most?
I learned a lot about like when I first went freelance a little. over 4 years, no, a little less than 4 years ago. Um, I learned a lot doing like tour visuals, and those were all like After Effects. I didn't learn much like technically, but just about workflows and like how to get stuff out on time.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I had to work for 48 hours straight was for Caliucci's tour.
Oh wow.
I learned that I could do that.
That's crazy. I can't do all-nighters. I need to at least have some type of sleep.
Yeah, that I haven't had one in a while.
Yeah.
It's been a few months.
So have you been
Out of that.
freelancing like the whole time? I thought you had gotten on like weren't you like part of a small company or something for a little while?
Yeah, so I was freelancing. I left BMH in 2021 when we knew each other personally, and then like I freelanced for about 2 years, and then I joined up with an agency for like 9 months or
Oh, okay.
so, and then they ended up shutting down their Boulder or their Denver office. They were trying to manage it from Sydney, and
Mm,
like
it's hard.
14-hour time difference. Yeah, it seems
Yeah.
difficult. One of their owners in Denver left right when I got brought on board, so it's
Uh,
like
so things were just
I
kind of like
thought,
falling apart as soon as you got on.
yeah, and they tried to save it from 14 hours away, but it
Yeah.
seemed to be a little
I wonder why they would
difficult.
choose Denver of all places.
Well, one of the co-owners that left was based in Denver.
Oh, okay.
I think you know him. You've worked with him before.
Oh, I have.
Yeah, on that Lids project.
Oh, okay. Which one?
Sam.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was a cool project.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
slayed that.
Huh?
You did really well on that. That was
Oh,
fun.
thanks. Yeah, see, like that was a project that I thought was really cool because I hadn't like worked on something like that before, or like I don't think I had ever like animated a baseball player. But what they wanted was kind of like rotoscoping, so I was like, oh, that's easy. I just need to like trace over it. But uh, yeah, that was a cool project. What did you end up doing on that one with the
We had like two 3D scenes,
Okay.
but I did the edit and the motion graphics, like
Oh,
the
okay, okay.
titles and the dots and stuff.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, hopefully we can do some more collaborating in the future.
Yeah, that would be sweet.
Yeah. Uh cool. And then just a few other questions. What advice would you give to other animators just starting out that want to do something similar to what you're doing now?
Um, I don't know. I don't know if I took the most direct path to it. So like I
I
know that
guess what
I
would you change what like would you change if you could go back in time and like if you feel like you did something that you're like, oh, that was dumb. Why did I do it that way? I should have.
yeah, I don't know if you can, because like my mentality right now is just like I think just doing the best I can, like under my current circumstances with my current intellectual resources and material resources, and that's like all I can do.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've been doing that for a while and just like kind of figuring it out. Like it is a bit of an adventure. I don't know. It's not the most exciting adventure sitting on the desk for this long, but it is like there. I don't know. A few twists and turns involved, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Okay.
I think, I mean, finding clients with clients is huge. Working for, you can work with the companies if you want to. Like I work with North Face and Axon directly, but then I have like agency partners and production companies that
Yeah.
kind of on their short list. Nothing
So yeah,
like
I guess how
formal.
did you like get connected with those companies? Was it just through agencies?
Um, Mostly just through personal connections,
Okay.
like through college, one of the directors at North Face. saw through my Instagram that I was doing shoe commercials with Foot Locker, and they wanted some shoe commercials. So that's how I worked with them. And North Face creatively kind of operates as an agency. Like they have internal art directors and internal producers
Oh,
and
okay.
stuff like that. So it's a little different from just meeting with a marketing manager or something.
Right.
Because I don't think I would be very good at that. But
Okay.
and then yeah, some of the other companies were just personal connections, just because I've been making videos for a while. Like I started making wedding videos when I was 18, and then made videos all throughout college, mostly like music and some commercials and stuff like that. Uh, and then Instagram, I guess, gets me in the door with some other people.
Yeah. Was it something on like Instagram that got what was it that got you like to start doing the 3D stuff? Because I feel like it's pretty I mean, nowadays it's pretty easy to like get into because there's so many free programs and stuff, like even
Mhm.
on Unreal Engine 5, but yeah, leaping from like the wedding photography, videography stuff to 3D because they're quite different.
Yeah, I did one campaign in my former company for like a tea brand. It was with Nova Naturals. Just because like product photos on cans and renders of cans, like it's just so much easier to render a can than it is to take a good can photo, in my opinion.
Right.
Um, so we just opted for 3D on that route, and that was like my first professional 3D thing. And then I'd been doing a lot of After Effects stuff, but I still with tour visuals, I was doing a lot of tour visuals that next year, and I didn't get trusted with any of the 3D projects until like a year or two in. And I just kept posting on Instagram, like the producers and directors were following me on Instagram, so I would just keep posting on the 3D stuff that I was learning and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And then they finally found a solid 3D visual that I could actually execute and not
Yeah.
fuck up.
All right. Sick, sick. What's next for you creatively, you feel like? I know you were saying that you want to hopefully take some time off soon and then be able to experiment and stuff with new ideas.
um, I do have some stuff in mind. Like I have probably another month of pretty solid contract work. Um, but after that, I'm gonna change a few things and kind of just realign expectations with all of my clients so that it's not a you can text me on Friday night and I'll have it ready for you by Monday morning type of thing.
Right.
Which I think like that's definitely an easy cheat code to get a lot of work when you're starting out. Like if you're 22 and don't have a girlfriend or don't have a boyfriend or whatever,
Yeah.
like it's just work on weekends and evenings.
Yeah.
Everybody will love you and you'll make a lot of money.
That's a good point. Yeah,
But
I didn't really think about that.
uh, I'm kind of a bit over it now.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna try to get everything down to 40 hours a week and just do my best to track my hours and bill for every second that I'm on there, and do um, hopefully a lot more YouTube and maybe start some other companies that are kind of within the video sphere, but not necessarily client based.
Okay. You said start companies or start working with companies?
Hopefully start companies. I've got
Okay.
a few ideas. The biggest one
Nice.
is like just templates and products that can help workflows.
Cool. Yeah, it's like stuff people
Like,
can download.
yeah, totally.
Sick. Well, hopefully that works out.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to add or chat about?
Um, no, I don't know if that was like the most comprehensive overview, probably like really deep in different sections, and
Yeah.
might leave the viewer with a few more questions.
Yeah, they might
So
have
I
more questions. People can
apologize.
leave questions in the comments. But I'm sure like people, I mean, I'm making this for other animators. Like it's not, this podcast isn't going to be for everybody, but I'm sure if you're a 3D artist or, if you're like messing around with Cinema 4D and Unreal Engine, that they'll get what you're talking about.
Cool. Yeah, Unreal. I definitely want to dive back into it just
Yeah.
for their meta humans. I've seen some crazy shit.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. They've been adding a lot of new stuff there.
Yeah, it just looks so much better than what I can do in Cinema 4D. And I know like the stuff that I see is like crazy talented animators putting their heart into a project, and you're like, oh, it's the program.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I've opened up Unreal Engine a few times and just like flown the camera around and then been like, I don't know what to do. So I just like leave it. But that's kind of how I was with Blender for a while until I finally just like forced myself to follow a tutorial.
Yeah, it is weird. And once you get over that hump of like being able to solve problems on your own and you're not just like in the weeds of documentation or YouTube or something, it is really pretty fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So thanks so much for being
Yeah,
on the
dude.
And I Made It podcast. If anybody has any questions, then leave them down in the comments. And yeah, stay tuned for the next episode. All right, and that about wraps it up for this episode. Thank you so much, Ben, for coming on the podcast. It was really great having you on, man. If you guys want to learn more about how to make some of this stuff, go ahead and check out Ben's YouTube page and his Instagram. His handle is Ben W. Gillespie. You can go ahead and check him out on there. Also, a quick thank you to Nick Hassenlop, my buddy who made the tune for this podcast. He made the tune on his piano album, which you can go ahead and check out on Spotify if you just look up Nick Hassenlop. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed this episode, go ahead and subscribe, and we'll be back next week with another episode and another animator to see how they make it. All right, see you guys next time.